Coach Clark here with us from Audubon, and he's a hurdle genius, you may say. Wanted to catch up with him for a long time, as I always hear the coaches talking about, oh, Coach Clark, he works with our hurdlers, does such a great job. So I'll ask you a real simple question to begin with, and you can take as long as you want to answer it, or you can answer it real quickly, but what makes a good hurdler?
What makes a good hurdler? Uh, Flexibility is probably a main thing, and speed, and not being afraid of the hurdle. Um, I think when I start, like, I'll go down junior high, and I help with junior high too. Um, we practice at the same time now, but I kind of get my choice of the fastest kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the main requisites. Once you get a good kid that's flexible, not afraid of them, that's basically what you look for.
So can you pick them out pretty quick? You
Yeah.
can get your eyes on them, say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm
It
going to
doesn't
have
take
fun
long.
working with this guy or gal.
Right. It doesn't take long. Have them go over a few. Do a few drills to begin with, just basic things, your trail leg, lead leg, and stuff. Then maybe run over a few, and you can kind of see, and how long it takes them to get their form down a little bit. So, but I think the main thing is getting started in the junior high as much as possible, and once we kind of got it rolling here, junior high kids are all fired up, don't want to do the same thing. And since we practice together now, they're down here at the same time. When we get done, a lot of times, like Nolan or Jake or Mitch and Tyler, they stick around and they help. And none of the kids, really look up to that and really think that's great. But they're really good at that. And these ones I got this year too are especially good at it. Probably know more about it than I do. If I don't say something, they can, why don't you try this or do that? So.
Well, he probably picked it up from you,
Well,
though.
maybe a little bit.
Who did you learn from? Or are you still learning?
Well, no, yeah, I still learn. Go to clinics and things and read up on it, but I think basically it really helps that I did it once. A lot of sports, well, you don't have to do a lot of background stuff on it, but I think with hurdling, it's something that you get in your mind. A lot of it is getting in a rhythm, getting your steps down, getting in a rhythm, and not chopping steps and things like that. And I think when you watch good hurdlers, it's all rhythmic. They can get in a rhythm and they just keep it going.
So tell us about your start in the hurdles.
Started in the hurdles?
A couple of years ago, huh?
Okay. What? Like I said, 58 years ago? Yeah, something like that. When I was a junior in high school, we practiced just around the track. We just had a 200 around the football field. And one day the coach asked me, he was just out in a parking lot, to try the hurdles, and I said, okay, I'll try them. And things worked out pretty good. And that was in '57, and went to state the same year, about 3 months later, and then I won the highs at state. And I think of like 15.8, 16 flat, which isn't too bad even today. That many years ago, and I got second in the lows that time. Man, what was kind of bad, the coach I had was a good coach, really liked him. I was written up a little bit in the Des Moines paper, and he always said that I helped him get his second job, that East Waterloo head track coach. And back in those days, East Waterloo was one of the better schools, track schools in the state. So he went up there, but he got me started. And then senior year, I don't know, a lot of it was just watching the other kids, I think, and working on it myself. But I think, and I was always told too, when I was, 5th grade, 6th grade, I started taking dancing lessons. Tap dancing, ballet, and all this. And I did that till I was a freshman. And people said, well, that probably really helped you. And I think it did, doing all the stuff that goes along with that, and flexibility and things. But I don't think many of our kids do that.
Interesting.
Anymore.
So I wanted to ask you about the current team and all the success they had at state. I was just thinking on the way up here, the boys placed third, score 38 points. I think 34 of them in hurdle events.
I think so. Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. It means a lot. And I think once you get, a few of them going, well, you got the 4 the highs, the lows, and the 400, and the shuttle. You can pick up a lot of points if you got a few good kids, and a few good kids can really carry you through. And I think from year to year, this is what we really try to emphasize is really being good in them. You know, and it's got the place now where this year I'd say there's a lot of pressure this year, even on the old guy, because last year we came through with 2 juniors and 2 freshmen, top 5 hopefully, and we could have won it. You know, by this far we got beat by Irwin. So this year we're starting out. They say, hey, you know, what we want this year. So we end up on top with times at the start of the year, and we stayed there all year, and that put some pressure on. Whereas in the past, you could just kind of go for the best you can do, and hoping to be in the top 5. So, and then next year we'll be kind of back to where we were, 2 juniors, and we've got another junior coming too, but we got a real good 8th grade bunch coming in.
I heard somebody say at the state meet, 44 things can go wrong in the shuttle hurdle relay.
What's that mean?
And you know, you mentioned it could have been not being afraid of them. How difficult is that to get across to kids?
I don't think it's really that hard. We started out with a lot of our drills, especially smaller kids. So we've got these little tiny hurdles, about 20 of them, and just for steps. And you know, you can run right through them, right over them, and no problem. And then we got some other ones that are a little higher. And then when you work out, like junior high, they'll run on 30-inch ones. But most of the time, they're not afraid of them. You know, I don't think it's that big of a problem. But if you start out low and get them over a few times, then that's what keeps them going. And I use those little hurdles a lot this year, just to get the quickness. I think one of the main points, you got to have form, you got to have all this, but the main thing we really work on is quickness in between, foot speed. And all the hurdles when we practice, instead of like 9.5 meters, we set them at 8.5 to 9. So they've got to be quick in between. And they're always at a lower height. And they do this in college too. Everybody pretty much does that. So you don't have to worry about hitting the hurdle so much. Even the high hurdles when you practice, you go in intermediates basically, and use those 36 inches instead of 39. And a lot of times, like with Mitch and Nolan, we'd hardly run the highs during the week. It's all work on the lows and quickness, speed in between, and a lot of different drills. We started out doing drills along the fence, trail leg, lead leg, things like that. But then as the season goes along, I'd usually just stay with over the hurdle, and just watch them over 2 and 3. And then there's lots of drills with you run 3 or 4 hurdles, 3-stepping but short, take out a flight, you run 5 steps for a couple, and then take out another flight, or put one back. And you stay with the 3 anyway after that. So you go 3, 3, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3, and it builds up your speed in between. You don't have to slow down. So a lot over the hurdle drills, and you can watch them and see, you know, what their form is.